You are now listening to the Do It Movement podcast, where we share our experiences in real estate investing and encourage you to take action. You don't want to miss what we have in store today, so let's welcome our host, Martine Richardson, and our co-host, Eubanks.
What's up today, Do It Movement listeners? This is your host, Martine Richardson, your buy and hold coach. I am joined today with my co-host, Eubanks, and with the Tisha Michelle. How are you doing today, Tisha?
I'm doing well. What about you guys?
Amazing. So grateful for you to be here, spend time with us and our listeners. I know everyone's going to get a lot out of this conversation because these are conversations that we really have directly with you and Martine. And, now we get to share it and kind of, spread the word that, the people that you surround yourself with, it really matters. And so just so excited to dig into your story, your journey, and then share how you also help other investors. Yeah, Tisha, thank you so much for being here. When did your journey start? Even, maybe not even into real estate yet, but your journey into, the path that you're walking in real estate. Can you share a little bit about what you're doing and how we got there?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I would definitely always have to take it back to December 29th of 2017 when my best friend Gloria went to sleep and she didn't wake up. So from that point right there, it just sent me in like a whole, I guess you want to say like a spiral where I was like questioning everything. And I think that real pivotal, that moment where I was in the closet, which was a huge pivot for me from where I had been. I was I want to say it was probably like 3 or 4 days after the funeral. And I'm like reaching to the top to get like some tape because it was around Christmas, right? And the holidays. And when I touched up the top, I touched the the program. So we had extra programs. And I just started crying because it was like almost in that moment. I hate to say this, but it was like I forgot that she had passed away. Like it was like a dream or something. And I just started crying. On TV, that ugly cry where they're like sliding down the wall. Like I swear, if somebody was looking at me, that's what I was doing. But I just started like questioning everything. And I remember saying to God, I was like, or at that moment, not God, I was just talking to whoever wanted to listen. I was like, there has to be more to life than this, because if this is it, I don't want to be here. But I want to just like point out that I wasn't suicidal. I was just questioning my existence, right? I was like, why am I here? Like, how could someone be 39 and have 3 kids and just go to sleep and just don't wake up? That doesn't make any sense. So what I didn't realize at that time was once you start asking questions, you start getting answers. And then from that point, I say God, like the universe started talking to me and everything just started like opening up, and like the core of who I really am started to like reveal like itself. So I would definitely say it started there on that journey, which led me to working with other people. And most of the people were in real estate. They were like investors or like agents. I was like, how did I just niche down without niching down, So I would definitely say that that's what sparked like my journey. But the journey to real estate was I was supporting all of the people that were in real estate. And I wasn't a business coach. Like I didn't know anything about real estate, at all. Or, I mean, I knew something about business, but I wasn't working with people like in their actual business. I was working with people and like who they are or who they're seeking to like become, what's their beliefs. And because of that, it started helping their business. And in particular, there was one person that I was working with, and I swear, y'all, I thought I was getting spammed on Instagram. I was getting so many followers and people, and I was like, I think they'd be like, oh my God, is there a video out there of me? No, and I didn't even do a video that I wouldn't approve of, but I was like freaked out. And then someone sent me a DM and was just like, oh, I was at this real estate conference and this investor was on stage and she was talking about like this breakthrough. And then she just like mentioned you. And I'm like, well, I don't work with people like in their like business. I don't know anything about like your real estate and stuff. And she was like, no, she was talking about how you were working like on her mindset and like her inner belief and like all these things. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is all connected. Anything that you do on the outside is a reflection of what's going on the inside. So yeah, so for
Say
that
again. Say that again.
But yeah, no,
Love
but it is.
that. And you've had such, like, you skipped over a lot with that, but I will say, I probably met you around that time when you blew up because I mean, everyone was like, Tisha's the person to work with. If you have blocks, go to her. So I know a lot of people that have worked with you where you've helped them tremendously. But when did you figure out like you could help entrepreneurs break through? Was that the person that was the first one that you helped, or did how soon after that tragedy did you jump into helping people with their breakthrough?
Okay, so you want to go back there? Okay. All right. So,
Yes.
the entrepreneur portion, I didn't really even realize it until that particular person. She wasn't the first one. She was the one that pointed it out to me that you work with a lot of people in this thing. I didn't really pay much attention to it because I wasn't working with the the label of a entrepreneur. I was just working with the individual person. She was the one that pointed that out. But however, so all these gifts that were lying dormant inside of me started like coming out, mixed with what's always been there. But like before we went live, when we were talking about like you have a gift but you don't really know it's a gift, like strangers would always just like tell me their business, and I would think they was just like, can you curse on here? Like, I would just think that that was just weird. I'm like, that's just like, okay. And I would just say something so simple, but it was profound to them. And I'm like, okay. And then even people that I knew would always like come to me and they're like, oh, you just make things so easy and different. But it was just so natural to me that I brushed it off. And then, like I said, when strangers or people I'm just meeting would tell me like their business and I would help them, I thought it was weird. But the only reason why I thought it was weird because I was very closed off, and I didn't open up to people. So that was weird to me. Like, that's strange behavior. Like, what's happening right now? I ended up an unconventional way. What actually broke it open after Gloria passed was I met with a psychic. She was a medium. Well, is a medium. I didn't, mind you, I didn't want nothing to do with anything in that sort at all. Even though I come from that bloodline, I'm like, my mother would be like, "Oh, I seen this or this person passed," or my grandmother. I'm like, keep that foolishness away from me. Because I was scared. I mean, Hollywood does a number, on you. So I would be like, keep that away. But I wanted to hear something so bad from my best friend that I was willing to step into the unknown. And plus, the person that had referred was a trusted source, which was her sister, and I'm super close with her. And I'm like, oh, I believe you when you saying she said these things, and how could you know? Like, yeah. So I was talking with her, and she just said so much stuff. And by me being a private person, especially like with like not growing up with my dad, only in my life for a short period of time, nobody knew anything about that. Like, you couldn't like Google me and find these things. So I was like, dang, it's like she just like was reading my story, the one that I actually hadn't written and put out yet. So all that was good. But then she said to me, she was like, Tish, you could do this. I said, do what? She was like, this, you have this gift. I'm like, well, if I believe everything else that she said, I mean, I guess I should believe this. So then that's how that whole thing like started with like oracle cards. And she told me to get this deck. Then she said, throw the book away. I'm like, I just paid money. I got my little coins. Like, I'm not wasting nothing. She was like, anybody can remember what was in a book. She was like, I need you to tap into your intuition. I need you to tap into that inner knowing. And I was like, okay. And that's what really just like, it started. She was like, just trust yourself, like trust what it is that's coming up. Trust what you're, getting. If you're sitting in front of someone and you feel a certain way or something is coming to you, just say it. Don't like overthink it. Like, just say it. So she was like, okay, now I need you to go on Facebook and I need you to say that you're ready to do readings with people. I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And she was like, you're going to do it. The only person I let talk to me like that. She was like, why are you afraid of who you are? Like, why are you afraid of like yourself? She was like, just put it out there. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, she's going to get it. So I put it out there on Facebook. I don't remember exactly what the post. I was just like, oh, I'm taking like 10 people doing readings. And so many people was like, me. And I was like, wait, you're into that? Like, you'll do that? You know what I mean? And it was really shocking to see how many people, something that I was so afraid of, that so many people embraced and was like, me. And then it just opened up from there. So I just was, doing readings with people. Then people would start asking questions. Okay, but how do I do this? So if I was giving them, they're like, but how do I do this? And then I would just say, oh, it's like this. Or they would say something that there's being a people pleaser. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, so we got to go back to your childhood. Let's go back to your childhood. And then I would give like examples, like, well, there's the people pleasers because when you were like 9 years old and you would be like cleaning your room and you're super happy about it. And mom and dad, whoever is raising you, and they come in there like, okay, yeah, this looks good, but what about the closet? Right? Or you get the good grades and they're like, oh, that's cool, but how come you didn't get an A in science? Right? So it's like whatever you did wasn't enough. So at that point now you're people pleasing because you're seeking something that you didn't receive when you was a child. Now, no shade to like mom and dad, they didn't intend that, but that's what ends up happening like as a child. So I would start breaking those things down to people and just really starting to realize like, wow, it's like I said, everything on the outside is a manifestation of the inside because you have to see it in order to be able to like change, right? So it's just like, oh well, I'm not like aware of it. So then you'll have this experience and you'll be like, wait a minute, I am a people pleaser. Like, yikes. And then again, for the entrepreneurs, someone pointed that out to me because I wasn't looking at titles or what people did. I was just working with like the core of that individual person. But then that's when she was like, well, like you're working with a lot of people in like real estate and this is like the thing and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, dang, you're right. And I mean, talking about people in there, I mean, the top of their game in real estate, I was like, wow. But they were more than just a real estate agent or a real estate investor. There was so much more. And like every individual person who wanted to bring those things out, but felt like they needed to stay in this box because, oh, I'm only in real estate. Write that book. That has nothing to do with real estate. So then that's how it all just started really just like unraveling. If I even answered your
That is
question.
amazing. No, you more than answered it. So you gave us so much. And, what you touched on was childhood traumas and how many people create blocks, right? Just from that thing that happened and that childhood age can stay with you for the rest of your life. So to be able to help people through those blocks and identify it, I'm sure a lot of people that you work with don't even realize they have a block. And, it's really amazing that you can connect and really share, hey, I'm realizing this. Like, have you thought about it? And how much that can like unlock their own mindset. So it's just you're very gifted in that space. And I can
Thank
speak
you.
on it firsthand because you have helped me through some blocks that I didn't know I had. And I didn't even know. I wasn't aware. And one thing that you did, which I always appreciated, is that you would correct me. If I was talking and I said one negative word, you would just change that one word and say, no, it's not balance, it's harmony, or,
Harmony.
and that's really stuck with me. So your journey is just amazing, how many people that I know you've helped and how much you've helped me along my money blocks, whether it was, like money blocks or, personal blocks. Just really grateful for that experience. So now you're helping people, but you're helping mostly real estate investors or realtors, in that space. Did that give you a taste of real estate where you said maybe I should dip my toes in it? Or what gave you that sense of that you're going to start buying for yourself?
So I've always wanted to be in real estate just because like my ex in-laws, but still my people, they're all in real estate, but I really didn't think that was something for me because I felt like you had to have a certain thing, whether that was like, you had to have a lot of money, you had to have the connections, you had to have like this perfect credit, all the things that, I do believe are important, but I just felt like, well, that wasn't for me right now, at all. And then I had a couple people say like, you might as well get into real estate because all the people that you work with are in real estate. They'll all help you. And I'm like, okay, but it really wasn't until, and I'm like, yeah, it does make sense, but no big deal. Just like, whatever, let me just keep doing what I'm doing. But then it was when we went to dinner, Lori, with, another person, that was where it happened because it was supposed to be, I don't remember exactly what happened, but it was like divine, just stepped in and all three of us ended up at the place, to have dinner. And of course, real estate's going to come up because that's what both of you guys were in, with real estate. And then you were talking about this other people's money thing. And I'm like, I'm always hearing people talk about this. What does this mean? But, I felt safe enough to ask the question to Lori to explain it versus feeling like, oh, I should know this. Right. But like, why should I know that? I'm not in that space. So you were like, yeah, this is what you do. And you were like, you were talking about LTV, no, ARV. Yeah. Yeah, you were saying ARV. And I was like, what is that? I don't even know what that means. So then you started breaking it all down. And I was like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me if I go and find me a property and I can come to someone and I can say, this is what this is and this is what it's going to be after I fix it, and I could just get it and don't have to jump through all those hoops? And you were like, yeah. And I said, well, who's going to do it? And you were like, me. And I'm like, no way. This sounds too easy. This sounds too easy. This sounds too easy. This doesn't even make any sense right here. So you was like, yeah, just go find the property. So then I went to my best friend who's an agent, and I was like, look, I had dinner with them and this is what she was telling me. And she was saying I was like spitting all this stuff. So then she was telling me that I should listen to Bigger Pockets. So I was like, okay. So I stopped with everything else and I just like dove into like listening to all like everything. I mean, I was just going through, listening to them and just like learning. And then I told her, I was like, okay, so I need to find a property. She's like, well, we can set you up a portal. And I was like, okay, well, what's that? So then she was telling me, and then it just went from there. She set up the portal, and then we just started to go look at houses, and that was how it happened.
You were around the right people at the right time.
Right.
I love that.
It seems
I'm so
like
honored.
when it's time for you to jump into something, it just like boom, explodes like right in front of you. Like, oh, it's time for you to help people. Write a post.
Yeah.
And you get all the people. It's time for you to get in real estate. Well, this is exactly how you do it, and just find a deal and I'll give you the money.
Yeah. But I was like, yeah,
That's
that's just too easy. But saying that, like on a serious note, that goes back to the belief where it's like, oh, if it's too good to be true, it's not true. There's something that's with this. So those beliefs start to come up where it's like, I don't know, that's something about that don't seem right. It got to be something else that like I'm missing. But again, that goes back to what your beliefs are, because I mean, your beliefs are your foundation to everything. Doesn't matter if you in real estate, if you work at the mall, if you're doing the spiritual work, whatever it is, it always goes back to what it is that you believe. That's your belief. So everything is rooted in that belief. So when we were talking earlier about working with people and getting to like the core, you have to get to the core of what it is, because if not, it's just surface level. That's just the top of it, and it's going to keep showing up over and over. And I always like to say it's the same product, but just a different package. It's like Walmart and Target. It's the same thing. It's just packaged differently. Like they get it from the same place, but that's just
Right.
how it's going to be too, based off of like your belief. It's going to keep showing up in different ways until you actually start to do something like about that.
Dropping gems right now.
So I wanted to ask, you mentioned that a lot of the things that we believe or things that are like in us that we are not aware of, it stems from things that happened when we were a child. And I remember you had, because I've worked with you too, that you have this piece, and I guess the entire part was about this, but it was like healing your inner child. So for people that maybe they aren't aware that they have some sort of belief system that's stopping them from getting to their goals, or they're causing them to act a certain way, what are some things that they can do to help them uncover? What are some of those things that happen when they were like a child? They're like, oh my God, it's affecting me now.
That's a good question. So it's definitely going to be that self-awareness, right? So let's identify what the pattern is, right? So one thing that you can do is like, if you're feeling a certain way, just say, have I felt like this before? 10 times out of 10, you have. So really it's like, if you're in like a situation and like it is producing this particular feeling, just literally stop and say, have I felt like this before? And then once you get that answer of yes, that's when you say, well, when did I feel like this? And then you can I like to just write down the times that's coming to your head. Don't overthink it. Just trust what's coming up. And you write those things down. And then when you look at them on paper, you can start to see the pattern. So whether this is something that happened yesterday, or you'll just go back, most of the time it'll trigger and it'll go back to that childhood and all. And then when you're looking at that, you're like, okay, it happened. I felt like this, I felt like this time. But what's common in there? What's common in that? So once you start there, everything starts to really just like unravel from that point, because now you're starting to recognize what the pattern is, and that this isn't a new feeling. You felt it before. It just looked different. So that's where I would just say to start with. And no, go ahead.
No, I think I was gonna ask a question that was what you were saying anyway. But like, okay, so I remember, and I think Laura may have gotten this story from you, or I don't know where she got it from, but she mentioned
Probably.
she mentioned a story about a lady that was terrified of public speaking. And it was because when she was in kindergarten, she went up to publicly speak and everybody laughed at her or something like that. And so, like, once you uncover, like, okay, well, I have this feeling, I've noticed the pattern, and you've identified with, okay, this happened at this time, so that's why I feel this way. How do you start to heal that?
Good question again, too. So, yes, that was the story. So, at the time, the lady was in her 60s, and this was a couple years ago. And what it was when she was in kindergarten, it started in kindergarten, but it went up, I want to say she said to like third grade, maybe. I can't really remember. But they would make fun of her because they would say that she was making up words, that she was just making up her own words, right? So she said she had been in therapy for her whole life, like from that. So she just stopped talking and it just silenced her, like her voice. So that throat chakra closed up on her. So we started doing hypnosis on it to get to like the core of what that is. So we had to reframe it. So there's always stories playing. You have to change that story. So I was like, so what if you were just ahead of your time and you just, you were really just ahead of your time. So where you were making up words, that was just a genius in you. And I said it like so nonchalant because it was really true. But for her, when she reflected it back, she was like, you just said that so matter of fact. Like, I never even really like thought about it like that. Like, yeah, why does it have to be one way? Because they are making fun of you. Like, you were just ahead of the game and they weren't, So let's just switch it. So it's really just to reframe it. So if you can open yourself up to another perspective on what's happening, that's where the brain starts saying, wait, so we can search for something else versus just this one thing. Like, why do we really even like accept that, right? Why are we even accepting that truth? But sometimes that's hard to do that on your own, right? What they say, you can't see the label when you're inside the jar. Like, you need somebody outside to like reflect that. And that could be a podcast like this. That could be working with someone such as myself. That could be, a YouTube or, anything just to kind of like open you up to just a whole different like perspective. But if you want to do that on your own, it's called shadow work, right? It's really starting to tap into those things that you wanted to hide because you felt less than, or people made fun of you, for that whole thing. So once you identify what the pattern is, and you're looking at it and like, dang, I felt like this a lot of times. Like, that's wild. Like, that right there is already opening up something else, like in the mind, to start bringing different. You'll probably get a flash or like a memory or something. You're like, well, whatever it is that you're getting, write it down. Like, don't overthink it, just write it down so it can start to come up, a little bit more. But then you want to take that thing and say, can I change this to something else? Or is this truth? And if it's truth, whose truth is it? Is it my truth, or is it the kid that was making fun of me, or my parents or society? Is that their truth, or is it my truth? And if you can't, what they say, if you can't stand on business on that thing, it's not your truth. It's somebody else's truth. Like, get rid of it. Like, get rid of it, and then create a new truth.
Right. I hope the people that are listening to this are writing these things down, because I talk about mindset so much, because if your mind is not where it needs to be to get you to the next level, you're going to find yourself stuck. You're going to find yourself not being able to get the things that you want because your mindset isn't where it needs to be. So much so that I want to share a little story really quickly. And let you just touch on it. But I remember I was coaching one of my students, and this person was, working hard, attracting deals, because that's how we work. We attract deals. We don't go spend tens and $20,000 on marketing. We don't do that. And they got a deal, right? And so excited, like, oh my God, I got a deal, less than 90 days. This is amazing. And we noticed that a lot of bumps were happening in the deal. So like, and I know you say that the obstacle is the way. But so this deal, it was inherited from another person, from I guess their grandma or something like that. And one of the people that it should have been inherited to lived in the house, and they were unruly, and they didn't want to leave, and they weren't paying the mortgage, like doing all the things, right? So they were giving them a hard time with like going in the house and seeing the house. So like that was one issue, but we solved that issue. And then later on, we found out that there were title issues because they had switched the deed over to just one of the people that needed to inherit the house when it should have been like 3 people. So like nobody was going to insure that title because they I guess you could say they committed fraud because they weren't the only people that were supposed to be inheriting the house. But anyway, it probably was some more obstacles during the process. And when I was talking to the person, I was like, I don't understand why this deal is like so many problems are coming up. Like, it's like one obstacle after another obstacle after another obstacle. So I took a step back and I said, do you believe that closing a deal is supposed to be hard? And they said, yeah, getting deals is supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. And because that was their mindset, what they believe, that is what was manifesting in their life. And like this is how strong belief is, because when you believe something, you don't necessarily have to be the person that's like putting it together and doing whatever, but because you believe that, that's what happens in your life. So I just wanted, I guess, you to touch on belief, because whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. So I always believe that you should just believe you can. You're going to get it. So what are your thoughts on belief and helping shape beliefs and all of that good stuff?
Yeah. So that's interesting too, because I have a strong belief in that as well, that I've been working through for like a while. And it's not that the deals are hard, because they were actually coming easy for me, in that space, but that you have to work hard. Like you have to work hard in order to earn money. Like point blank, period. It just cannot come to you easy. Like even when I started doing this work, I would really say like, this is a fluke. Like I'd be like, yo, I'm a fraud. I didn't really think I was a fraud, but I'd be texting my friend. I'm like, yo, I'm a fraud. I'm like, people are paying me to just talk to them. I do that thing for free, like all day long. Like that's just weird to me. That's so weird. But when I really started really digging deep, I'm like, wait, I really do have this belief. I'm laughing about it, but I really do believe that you have to work hard. Like someone could pay me $250 an hour for an hour to talk to them and to work. To me, I'm like, oh, we're just talking. But to them, it's really, transforming their life. But then I'm like, no, I need to go work a few hours hard physical labor to make that money. That's just weird. And that started happening. And I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy. Where did this come from? Right. But then I had to just go all the way back on that. So yes, you can have a belief, and your belief could be so strong that now there's all these obstacles in this deal. And you're like, oh, well, if it's a belief, just believe that it's easy. That's not really easy for people, because their core belief is you have to work hard or these things have to be hard. So you have to really uncover, where did that story come from? Who told you that? Like, where did that really come from? For me personally, just to let you insight into me, like, I don't have a money block. I have a receiving block. Like, I couldn't even receive a compliment. If you give me a compliment, I'm giving you one right back. Like, stop. That's making me uncomfortable. Like, stop. Like, you're being weird. Like, have you ever told someone, like, oh, I really like your hair? And they're like, oh, yes, I love it. Me, I'm like, oh, I like yours too. Like, why am I lying? Like, why am I even just saying that? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding about that part. But what it really was is I have a hard time receiving, right? So where did that belief? So I had to start really uncovering a lot of things. Well, my dad wasn't in my life for but like 2 years before I met him at like the age of 14, and by 16 he had died. Well, one thing that he said was, my daughter don't gotta ask nobody for nothing. I'm 14. I'm like, you damn right she don't, period. And that stuck with me. He wasn't doing that to like stop me from like asking or for support and stuff. He was just trying to make up for all the years that he wasn't in my life, and knowing that he was going to pass. So he was like, my daughter ain't got to ask nobody for nothing. Here I am, 14, acting like I'm grown. Like, you damn right I don't got to ask somebody for nothing. So I made my life a lot harder, because I'm not comfortable with asking for help. And why is that? Because you don't want to be rejected, right? Because if someone says no or they can't, it goes back. So you have to keep like unraveling what that thing is. So it's not like, oh, I don't need no support and stuff. Yeah, absolutely, I do. And that's if you're spiritual, your religion, whatever, whoever you consider your creator, like that's how God helps you, through other people, right? It has to come through people. But when you start to shut yourself off and just be like, no, I can only depend on myself. which is probably true because you have to validate that belief or you have to invalidate that belief. So if you think that the deals and closing has to be hard, everything around you is going to support that. It's going to validate your belief. And what's the first thing you say? I told you. I knew it. I knew it. I knew I was gonna have to jump through hoops to close this deal. I knew it was gonna do like this. Yeah, it was so strong that you had to validate your own belief, right? So now you have to invalidate that belief by looking for like proof of concept. So okay, well, Martine, tell me about like your stories. Like, how do your closings go? Lori, what are yours and stuff? So now you need the proof of concept from like other people. And then as soon as you get your proof of concept, you're like, I can do this. And then you have to just keep building from it, and the building and building and building. But yeah, the beliefs is everything. That's where you're rooted in. That's your foundation. And that's why a lot of things kind of really crumble, because the foundation wasn't built on anything like really firm. It was built on other people's beliefs. Because you really look at your beliefs and see where did they come from, and you start really tracing them. You'd be like, dang, I really am impressionable. Dang, like that's wild. Like, that's what my belief is. Like, and then sometimes you have some beliefs that you're okay with, and because I know there's some with me, I'm like, yeah, that's my belief, but I'm cool with that. Like, I'm fine with that. I'm fine. I don't need to change anything on that unless something ends up happening. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. God's like, yeah, you don't need to be owning that thing right there, because that's what's causing this particular like thing. But yeah, going back to what you said, our beliefs are very, very, it's the foundation of like who we are. So you really have to like look within to really uncover them.
That story that you just shared about you had a belief that you have to work hard for money, because that reminds me of a book I just read. It's called The Instant Millionaire. And in the book, the guy, this had to be an old book, I'm thinking, because the guy was making like 30,000. But and he thought that that's all he was capable of making. And he met with this guy, not to tell the book, but he met with this guy and he was like, so the people that are millionaires, right? Because you believe that you have to work hard for money. So let's just say you make 30,000 and then somebody else makes, we'll just say 300,000 so my numbers can be easy. Do you think that person worked 10 times harder than you to make 300,000? And he's like, well, I mean, I work like 70, 80 hours a week. Like, how could they work harder than me?
Yeah.
And he was like, exactly. That person didn't work any harder to make that money. They just have a different belief system than you. Whereas you're trying to work harder to make more. This other guy is working smarter or changing their belief that it isn't that hard to make more money. And I know an affirmation that Laura and I, we would always just say it like on the phone, just like all the time, like deals come easily to us. And when we talk about deals coming easily to us, we're not just talking about getting the deal. We're talking about structuring the deal, putting the money, making it make money, all of it. And it all came from a belief system. And we would just say it like it was a right, like we would say it like, hello, hey, deals come easily to me. It wasn't like it was some sort of trained thing that we were doing. Go ahead.
Well, let me touch on what you were doing and what was happening right there. So the subconscious mind, which is the deepest and most powerful part of ourselves, doesn't know the difference between real and imaginative. So if you're like, yo, deals always come easy to me, like it doesn't know if it's real or what. So it's just gonna go with that. So again, that's validating like a belief, and that's what your belief is, like, oh, deals come easy to me. So that's what you were actually doing. The subconscious, was like, okay, yeah, deals come easy. So all right, so this is what she wants, so let's give it to her. So yeah, so manifesting goes both ways. I always said I don't want to be rich. I'm a powerful manifester, because guess who's not rich? Like this girl right here. But I've always said that. I always said that. I was like, I don't want to be rich. I said, I just want to be comfortable. And that's what ended up happening. But what it was, I didn't want to be rich because rich people weren't nice people. They didn't have a good heart. They take from, other people. They were heartless and stuff. But I didn't have that belief of like, wait a minute, but that's not me. So if I do get this, I'm not going to turn into that. That's weird. But when you have such a strong belief in something, nothing makes sense. And you're just going to be stuck on that. And then when I realized how powerful of a manifestor, I was like, whoa, let's change this whole thing up. God, I was kidding. I was kidding with you. I was joking. But what I did notice is that getting into real estate, that those beliefs actually started being highlighted. And I was like, oh, I never recognized them. And it was, so when I say I don't have a money block, I have a receiving. So now I'm getting this. I wasn't the person that could actually hold it. I wasn't even built and equipped. So I had to lose those things to be like, I don't like the way that felt. Like, oh, so I can get this, but I have to do some more work on being able to like keep the thing. So yeah, hold the door open for me. I used to just be like, it's okay, just let it go. Or I'll start running to get up there. Like, now it's like, oh, thank you. Or if somebody give me a compliment, I'll be like, I received that. So even though that's small, it doesn't really matter in the big picture of everything. It's like, if you can take a compliment, then you can receive this. Or if you could receive that, so it's all really just connected. So if somebody gives me a compliment, I'm like, I received that, that's what's up. Thank you. And I don't feel uncomfortable like I used to before. Be like, oh, really? Like, really? It's time to get my hair done again, instead of just taking a compliment. And I actually had somebody say that to me one time. They was like, just take the compliment. And I just bust out laughing. I was like, you're right. You're right. You just called me out on that. I'm like, thank you. I'm still feeling uncomfortable inside, but like, thank you. But yeah, so.
Right. Well, I could talk to you all day about this, but I know we want to keep our episodes concise. So tell people what has been a real game changer for you in terms of your mindset, and also what's the best way to reach you?
Okay. So the experience, honestly, I would say experience is the greatest teacher, and we teach what we most need to learn. So having the different experiences, while in the moment, they're like the end of the world. But when I really, really sit and I drown out all the noise after I'm, out of my head, and maybe even sometimes having a little pity, party on, on certain things, and I really like step back, I'm like, that wasn't about this. That was about that. Like, dang. So I got an invitation to go within some more. I thought I already worked through that. Right. But, so that's been a big game changer for me to like step back from everything and everybody. I even did a detox from social media, because you start seeing all these different things, and then it starts clouding your judgment. And then you're like, oh, I want that too. Oh, I want that too. And then it kind of takes you off a different, like, path or plan, which all paths are going to lead you to where you're meant to be. It's just that some of them have some painful lessons that really hurt, when you're going on there. So I would definitely say that game changer is the self-reflection, is being able to like step back and reflect on everything. So no matter what you're going through, like in your life, your current circumstance doesn't define like who you are or where like you're going. So if you just spend a little bit of time to like really self-reflect, you'll see that it has nothing to do with that. There's like all these like NPCs and non-player characters that they're only here to just teach you something. They're here to get under your skin or ruffle your feathers. But what it is they're just putting up a mirror to show that there's something inside of you that's ready to be birthed, or something that's inside of you that's ready to be burnt down, and it's coming through that person. But in the middle of it, it's like, it's hard. But the more you start to self-reflect, then like the better it is when a situation does happen. You don't really spiral out of control off the back. You're like, wait, what am I supposed to learn with this? Right. So that I would definitely say has been a game changer, and everything. As far as how can people like connect with me, I'm on Instagram the most, so it's Tisha Michelle official. I'll be on I got to do a new TikTok, but I did create the page, so you can still go follow me over there. Ain't nothing on there yet. And then also listen to my new podcast, Rebuilding Me, The Art of Starting Again. So I did just drop an episode today. It's really coming out tomorrow. But if you want to go over there, you can check me out there.
Okay, that's awesome. Lori, what's the best way people can reach you if they want to reach out?
Oh, yeah. I'm on all the social media platforms. I know Martine will put my email in the show notes, and just love talking real estate. I'm a deal junkie. So if you have a deal, you'd like an opinion, you just want to talk real estate, hit me up. And if you're lending as well, we're always deal making and making win-wins. And also, if you're in assisted living facilities in that world, come my way. We're jumping in and excited to connect.
And the best way to reach me is to join my free buy and hold community. It's called The Freedom Inc. The link will be in the show notes. Also, if you're looking at this live, Freedom Fest is coming up June 6th, 6 to 8 p.m. I hope you can make it. But until next time, Do It Movement listeners, see ya.
Thank you for tuning into our show. If you need more handholding on your rental property investor journey, book a 15-minute strategy session with Martine. We can see if you're a fit for the Freedom Inc. fam, link in the show notes. Also be sure to join the free Freedom Inc. Facebook group, where each week Martine goes over a real-life rental property investor deal and shows you how the deal was found, how to get the money, and how to make it cash flow, and much more. If you'd like to connect with Lori, be sure to email her at vitalizeproperties@live.com. Until next time, see you.